I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good
Hey everybody, welcome back to Tustumena Learning Links, your link to learning. I'm Mrs. Hanson, and today we are learning a fun trick. It's going to be called the zeros trick, and we're going to be doing it with multiplication. We're going to do another video a little later with the same zeros trick with division, but today we're going to be doing the zeros trick with multiplication. As always, make sure you have a piece of paper, a pencil, or a whiteboard to follow along with, because we're going to be learning by doing, not just by watching. Okay, so let's get started. So a lot of you might have seen this before, but a lot of you might have not seen this before, so I wanted to make two special videos just to go over the zeros trick, because it has helped me as a student and even as an adult solve some math problems pretty easily. Okay, so the first problem we're going to do is 9 times 100. And take a moment to write this down. So we're going to be able to solve this without a calculator, without having to set up like a multiplication problem. We're just going to be able to solve it in our head. And I know some of these answers you might be able to solve pretty quickly, but you can use the zeros trick with harder problems that you might not be able to solve as quickly. Okay, so the way the zeros trick works is that you're actually going to ignore the zeros to begin with. So we're going to ignore those two zeros, and we're just going to be looking at our two digits that are not zeros. So I have a 9 and a 1, okay? A 9 and a 1. So I think, okay, what is 9 times 1? 9 times 1 is going to be 9, and I'm going to write that right here. But I know that I'm not done yet, obviously. I still have to account for these two zeros. So the way the zeros trick works, we have already taken care of the digits that are not zeros. So now I'm going to move on to the zeros, and I just count how many I have in my factors. So I have 1, 2, and then I'm going to add that right after my 9 here in my answer. So 1, 2. So 9 times 100 equals 900. So it looks fairly easy when we do this trick. Let's try a couple more problems. So let's do a little bit bigger of a problem. Let's do 5 times 3,000. Okay, so once again, with the zeros trick of multiplication, we're just going to ignore those zeros. We look at the digits that are not zeros. So we have 5 times 3. I'm going to solve that. That's 15. So I'll write that as my answer. But once again, I know I'm not quite done yet, so I'm going to start counting up those zeros. I have 1, 2, 3 zeros, and I'm just going to put them over here, right in my answer. 1, 2, 3 zeros. And so you can see my answer is 15,000, and let's add that comma in there as well. So I'm going to start in my ones place, count over 3 digits, 1, 2, 3, and my answer is going to be 15,000. So this is a little bit easier, and this is a quick way to do it in your head. And this is another great tool for this problem is for estimating products as well. Okay, so let's do one more problem, but first, before we do our last problem, let's do our easy peasy math fact. So let's say Mrs. Hanson has 25 students. 5 of them did not show up today. 5 of them were absent. How many students did Mrs. Hanson have today? Okay, that's our easy peasy math fact. Let's move on to our last problem. So we're going to do 12, actually no, let's make it a little bit bigger. Let's do 120 times 200. So this is a great example of how the zeros trick works and how it's really useful, because for this, if I didn't know the zeros trick, I would probably pull out a calculator or set it up as a multiplication problem and actually solve it, but the zeros trick makes me solve it a little bit quicker. So once again, we're going to ignore the zeros, but you'll see I have zeros in both my numbers, and I'm going to kind of stretch out here and look a little funny. So I have 12 and 2 that I'm looking at, and I'm just ignoring those zeros and pretending they're not there. So 12 times 2 is going to be 24. And I'm not going to write any commas or anything yet, just because I don't know what my final answer is going to look like. So now, let's pay attention to those last zeros. Let's count them up. I have 1, 2, 3 zeros. So I'm going to add that in my answer. 1, 2, 3. And my answer is 24,000, and I'm going to start at my ones place. 1, 2, 3, add my comma, and I get 24,000. So I hope this trick helped you. Try it on any problem with numbers that end in 0, and you'll be surprised how big you can calculate just in your head without a calculator. Okay, so next time we're going to be studying the zeros trick with division, and that's going to be a fun one as well. So look out for that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful night. Thanks for learning with us.
I got that sunshine in my pocket, got that good soul in my